Staying warm through the evening, 16, 17 Celsius there at 5 p.m. for northern Scotland. Northern Ireland, very little in the way of cloud, and for England and Wales, around sunset, also clear spells, but we keep the brisk breeze, and that means that it's going to be frost-free around some of these more exposed coasts. But inland, where we get some shelter from the breeze, temperatures will fall away, and during the hours of darkness we can expect temperatures to dip into the mid or even low single figures. So yeah, there'll be a touch of frost here and there, a few patches of cloud as we start off Wednesday. But otherwise, it's a similar start to Tuesday with plenty of blue skies from the word go. And it's another remarkably sunny day out there with barely any clouds in the sky, just some patches over the Pennines perhaps, but even that will disappear into the afternoon. We keep a brisk breeze. It's perhaps less strong across southern parts compared with Tuesday, but it's still good to make it feel on the cool side, particularly along the North Sea coast, 11 to 13 Celsius here. It's in the west where we're going to see highs into the high teens.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News traffic and travel report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. Buses replaced trains between Cleethorpes and Barton on Humber because of a faulty train. In Derbyshire, the A628 Woodhead Pass is closed each way between Flouch and the Glossop turn-off after an accident causing queues. In Cheshire, the A550 is partly blocked each way by an accident between the Two Mills traffic lights and the A494 at Shotwick, with queues each way towards there. In West Midlands, the A463 is closed westbound along the Black Country route at Bilston after an accident causing queues. And on the M27 in Hampshire, there's a lane closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 8 and 9 from Bursledon to Fareham causing queues. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News traffic and travel report.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
High street retailers have been unveiling their new collections with the arrival of the warmer weather, with critics warning that British staple M&S faces a stampede due to the popularity of their new ranges. Well, joining us now is fashion and upcycling consultant Tendai Marewa.
This spring we're going a little bit less bold prints, but we're focusing more on textures and embroidery and more brighter colours. The reds are in, the blues. And the minis are back in.
Oh, gosh, we're all going to have to get our pins out, Adam. Oh, dear.
Are we?
So M&S,
yeah.
Marks & Spencer, they seem to be doing very well.
Yeah. I think what they've managed to do is to get the young audience as well. We see it on TikTok. They've got a trend with their jackets. Everybody's loving it. So the mums and the daughters can all wear the same collection.
Oh, I've seen so many TikToks, you're absolutely right, of younger women going into M&S, trying on the clothes, showing off their M&S haul, is what they call it, and, just pushing the clothes. They like it. They say, you know, it's cool now.
I think that's amazing, because I think, you know, there shouldn't be ageism in shops. We should all go to one shop and come out with whatever we want, and they've managed to do that. And they're bringing out this collection where they've got 10 dresses each month from April to June, and it's affordable to everyone and just perfect for summer.
Yeah, and then I suppose quite good quality. Where else on the high street can people go, you know, if they don't want to spend too much money?
Reach out to your local charity shop and, you know, support them by just buying whatever they have. Revamp it. Add some buttons, some embroidery, and there you go.
What if you're not very good at the old arts and crafts? Like me.
That's where the upcycling consultant is.
Ah, right.
The People's Channel.
Good morning, 9:30 on Tuesday, the 1st of April. Live across the UK, this is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Eric Queer.
And good morning to you. Right, so of course, awful April. Household bills soar. We'll help you beat the blues this morning as millions face price hikes in what's being called awful April. But didn't the Chancellor promise that we'd be better off?
People will be, on average, over £500 a year better off under this Labour government.
Justice U-turn, the government's forced the Sentencing Council to scrap ethnic minority two-tier sentencing for now.
Bin strike chaos. A major incident has been declared in Birmingham as 17,000 tonnes of rubbish lined the streets.
That's right, the all-out bin strike has been happening since the 11th of March here in Birmingham as 17,000 tonnes of waste pile on Birmingham streets.
Shameful, isn't it? Private school VAT showdown. The Independent Schools Council is challenging Labour's VAT tax raid at the High Court today and will be there.
Donald Trump's tariff war. The Prime Minister admits Britain will be hit by the US President's global tariffs. But what about our special relationship?
And Marine Le Pen says she will fight on. France's National Rally leader refuses to quit after her embezzlement conviction rules her out of running for president. So if you're worried about your bills, your water bill, your mobile phone bill, your broadband bill, everything is going up in awful April, despite what the Chancellor told us last week. We've got a consumer expert here to help you, so send your views, send your questions to us, and we will get as many of your questions as we can answer.
It's frightening, isn't it? Everything's going up, but yet you've got situations like Birmingham Council where they're not collecting the bins, they're not doing what they're meant to be doing.
Terrible.
And some of the salaries of some of those people who work within the councils even double the Prime Minister's, but we'll go through some of that as well. As ever, gbnews.com/your say. At 10:30, just to remind you, we'll be joined by a top consumer expert. So as Andrew said, get your questions in and we'll try and hand out some information. But first, let's get your latest news with Katie Bowen.
Andrew, Nana, thank you and good morning. Your top stories from the GB Newsroom. Millions of households across the country will see their bills increase today, from energy and water prices to council tax and stamp duty. The 7 hikes in prices and tax coincide with the new financial year in what's being dubbed Awful April for consumers. Water bills are increasing by an average of £10 a month in England and Wales, while gas and electricity are up by £111 a year. Also today, the basic salary for members of Parliament has increased by 2.8%. And sticking with the economy, the Prime Minister visited the City of London this morning as the annual increases to the National Living Wage and National Minimum Wage take effect today. Shadow Business and Trade Secretary Andrew Griffith spoke to GB News earlier on.
Look, it all feels like it's coming at once. This is a difficult April for so many people.
Apologies there. Plans for new sentencing guidelines for offenders from minorities have now been delayed after the government announced draft legislation to block the changes. The new guidelines, issued by the Sentencing Council, says judges should get a pre-sentence report before sentencing someone of an ethnic, cultural or faith minority, alongside other groups such as those aged 18 to 25, women and pregnant women. That guidance had been due to come into effect today, but Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood announced she would introduce a draft law to the Commons aimed at blocking the guidelines on the same date. The Independent Sentencing Council insisted that the new instructions were necessary and appropriate, but would not be implemented while the introduction of a bill was imminent. And speaking overnight from the White House, US President Donald Trump says he has settled on a tariff plan and that the US will be nice, as Downing Street conceded yesterday that tariffs would probably affect Britain. In a new development, Sir Keir Starmer has been warned that there can be no free trade without free speech, as the US State Department issued a statement saying it was concerned about freedom of expression in the United Kingdom. President Trump's tariffs, including a 25% tariff on all automotive imports, are set to come into effect on his so-called Liberation Day tomorrow. He also said he wants to see Russian President Vladimir Putin follow through and make a deal to end the war in Ukraine.
You're going to see in 2 days, which is maybe tomorrow night or probably Wednesday, you're going to see, and they're reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we charge them, but we're being nicer than they were. We have a lot of countries, friend and foe. I always say friend and foe, but the friend in many cases is worse than the foe. They took advantage of us, and we are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice.
Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Andrew and Nana.
Well, hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom live across the UK. Andrew Pearce, I'm here. And what a treat for me, in for Beb Turner, is the wonderful Nana Acquia.
Good morning to you. Good morning, Andrew. It's a pleasure.
to be with you.
Yeah, lovely to be with you this morning as well.
You wouldn't be so nice to be in Birmingham, though, would
No,
it, right now?
not at all. The poor people in Birmingham, yes.
Our second city, the biggest local authority in the whole of Europe, and they've now had to declare a major incident amid the ongoing bin strike.
Now, it is actually estimated that 17,000 tonnes of waste remain uncollected in the city, with rats the size of cats running about, and not a word from our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer. Embarrassing, isn't it, Andrew?
It is. And remember, look, I'm not being party-bree here, but we have to make the point. This is a Labour-run council. It went bankrupt. I don't know if it was this year or last year, but one of the most basic functions of a local council is to empty the bins.
And you think...
look at this.
I mean,
if you're listening on the radio, this is taking me back to the winter of discontent in 1978, when we weren't even burying the dead, and that was under Labour. This is shocking. Some of these piles of rubbish, Nana, you are actually moving. We can see foxes in and out.
It's just terrible.
Because the rodents are in the middle of the rubbish and they're moving the rubbish along. This is going on for 3 weeks.
I mean, all we need now is some sort of awful disease now because of this.
Yeah.
This is the sort of thing that happened many years ago. If you're listening on radio, I mean, it's like it looks like people have hired skips to try and put the rubbish in there. The bins are piling up. There are black bin liners, or bins all across the side of the road.
And it's the rodent issue. And some cars now are colliding with massive rats in the street, and it's damaging the cars because they're so big.
What, big rats? I can't imagine it.
It's just it's disgusting. Well, let's talk to our GB News reporter, Steve Bennett, who is there amidst the refuse. Steve, I hope you got some gloves on.
And a mask.
Good morning to you both. It is incredible in Birmingham. Everywhere you drive, everywhere you walk, there's piles of rubbish on the streets. Not only are the bins overflowing, but as you'll see behind me, I'll just show you now, massive piles of rubbish on street corners just like this. And what the locals are saying to me is because their bins are so full, they're now bringing their bins out of their houses, emptying them onto street corners just like this. This is just one small road in Selly Oak part of Birmingham, and we've seen 3 or 4 piles exactly like this, very similar size, and as you can imagine, it's smelling and it's getting hot now. You can imagine what that's going to do to these bins, and the locals are telling me in this area alone they haven't seen a bin collection in 4 weeks, and in most of Birmingham it's at least 7 weeks. This has been going on since the 11th of March. That's when the all-out bin strike started, in a dispute over pay and making positions redundant. And as you said, 17,000 tonnes of waste is piling on the streets of Birmingham city centre as we speak, with another 900 tonnes being added every day. It's incredible. You know, even if they started cleaning it now, the backlog would be tremendous to get rid of this waste. You know, and the locals, you know, the last time I was here, which was in March, they had signed a petition to speak to Birmingham City Council to get something done, to get this changed. Because as you said, it's at crisis point. It was at crisis point then. Look how it is now. You know, and Birmingham City Council have declared a major incident. And what that means is they can now seek the help of other local authorities and the government to try and get some of this waste removed, because it's only going to get worse as the temperature changes, as it gets hotter, the smells. You mentioned the rats. We haven't seen any ourselves, but the locals have told us already they've seen plenty running around the streets here of Birmingham. So incredible scenes. It really is at breaking point in Britain's second city.
Disgusting, isn't it? Listen, really good to talk to you. Thank you very much. Steve Bennett, he's there in Birmingham amongst the bins.
The irony is there's a dispute over pay, so the bin men have gone on strike, and bin women, of course. So they've hired agency workers. By the money they paid the agency workers, by now they're probably financially out of pocket as well. And the bin men and women are just walking in front of the refuse lorries, stopping them doing their work.
Well, so there's obviously money there to pay for it, but why people don't focus on that, particularly when the residents are actually paying their council tax, you'd almost be thinking, well, why am I paying it?
Why doesn't the Prime Minister say to the leader of Birmingham City Council, it's the biggest local authority in England, Labour, sort it out, mate? Why don't the Prime Minister get on the phone to him and say, sort it?
It's absolutely absurd.
I've not heard a word from the Prime Minister
No,
about it.
we haven't. What's he doing? Is he posturing somewhere? He's at a cabinet meeting this morning.
Well,
very important meeting.
he's sorting out Ukraine, isn't he, or something? Now, moving on. Water bills up, energy bills up.
Council tax, car tax up.
Stamp duty up, broadband up.
Welcome to what's being dubbed as Awful April, April Fool's Day. Millions set to face price hikes today. 7 bills and tax changes due to go up from today.
Here on Britain's Newsroom, we're going to help you to beat the blues. We're going to be joined by the founder of Money Magpie, Jasmine Birtles. Jasmine, morning to you. This is quite an April storm, isn't it? All these bills going up virtually the same day, the same week. And we had the Chancellor telling us last week during the spring statement that families would be £500 a year better off under this government.
I absolutely did not understand that. I don't know how her maths is working, but sort of my maths was saying to me quite the opposite, that families are going to be worse off. Because, as you say, we've got this raft of bills going up now, today, and also taxation. And for small businesses, and I run a small business, the national insurance bill is going to go up. So with people not having as much money extra to spend on fun things, going out, buying nice clothes, etc., and small businesses having extra costs with their employees, I can see quite a lot of businesses folding, as well as, later on. I'm sorry to add to the gloom, but it just kind of makes sense that if people don't have the extra money to pay for going out, etc., because they're spending it all on bills, it's going to be very difficult for quite a lot of businesses, high street businesses particularly, to keep going, I would imagine.
She would argue that it was the OBR who said that we would be £500 better off. I'm wondering where they managed to conjure that up from. I quite like what Richard Tice said about the mushrooms. But I'm just looking at it. That national insurance hike is apparently going to cost us as employees, even though it falls on the employer, at least £500 on average. I mean, that is a lot for anyone. And then when you add all of this on top, it's almost about £1,000, actually.
Well, it is, and I'm at the point now where people are asking me, what tips do you have for consumers? And to be honest, I'm at the stage now where I've been saying all sorts of little things like, put a jumper on, turn your heating down by 1 degree, use a water meter, etc. Most people, a lot of people across the country have done these things, done all these little tweaks, but still now, it's got to the point where there's not much more that they can do. I mean, there are still people who could do things like this, switch their bills, etc. But I think we are at the point now where there isn't really very much more that they can do. And even with the standing charges, even if they do change the way they spend, and if they change things, maybe they don't even use their gas and electricity, the prices are still going up, their costs are still going up. So I sort of feel that we're coming to the point where some people are feeling quite mutinous. And they're just, I've spoken to some people who have refused to pay their council tax, for example. They're in dispute with the council because they say they're not getting what they should be getting for their council tax. So why are they paying it? So this is, they're having an ongoing wrangle with their council and saying, no, you're not, our contract has been broken. I'm not paying this. Whether they'll get anywhere with it, I don't know. But, this is what I'm hearing from a few people, at least on the ground.
Well, Jasmine, if you were living in Birmingham, I don't know if you just saw our report on the bin strike there, would you be mighty tempted to withhold your council tax? Because one of the most important roles of the local council is to empty your wretched bin. And you can see what's going on there. Some people haven't seen a bin man or woman for 7 weeks.
It's absolutely shocking. And I think what we as consumers need to do now is to demand of companies, government, local government, for transparency. If we're going to pay these bills, we need to know what they're being spent, what the money's being spent on. And I would say this particularly for the water companies, because there's another example of prices going up, costs going up, and what we're getting going down. The actual performance is going down. So I think we as consumers are going to need to take more part in this and demand transparency. Say, where are you spending the money? Where, because, I'm with all of these companies and organisations, there is wastage. And I think, we need a Doge kind of a Doge organisation in all of these organisations, whether it's water companies or power companies or whether it's the local council. We as consumers need to know where our money's going.
Quite right.
They absolutely need to be accountable. Jasmine Birtles, thank you very much. She's the founder of Money Magpie. Don't forget to send us your thoughts and questions, gbnews.com/your say.
Because we are going to have a consumer expert here taking your questions for an hour.
Yeah.
So, because you're going to have lots of worries. I mean, the average water bill, Nana, is going to go up £123.
Yeah, it's absurd, isn't it? I mean, and they've got a nerve,
filthy,
really.
horrible old rotten water.
Yeah, they're not even doing the right thing with water either. We know that the rivers are polluted and they're not cleaning things properly. But anyway, stay with us. Still ahead, we'll debate, should toddlers be taught about trans? As apparently 3-year-olds can be transphobic.
Ridiculous, isn't it? What world are we living in?
It's madness.
And the Chancellor's VAT raid on private schools is going to be fought out in the High Court today, as 77 schools are already closed since its introduction. So we'll be at the High Court there. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, of course, here's the forecast of some of those top European destinations.
I hope it doesn't rain.
Don't worry about it.
It'll spoil our holiday.
Relax, we're totally covered.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're heading further afield over the next few days, it is going to be unsettled across much of the Mediterranean, particularly for Greece, where very lively showers and thunderstorms will continue during Wednesday. Showery for southern Italy, but northern Italy largely fine with some sunshine. South of France into Spain and Portugal. We've got spells of rain moving in along with a gusty wind, and that unsettled weather sticks around for the end of the week, whilst the showers become fewer and less frequent in Greece.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Gynecological health, women's health as a whole, is one of the biggest societal challenges that we face currently.
What would you say, Josephine?
I've been massively failed over the 12 years that I've been dealing with endometriosis in many, many different ways. I wasn't believed to begin with. I was passed from pillar to post. There was a time where after an endometriosis surgery, I got sepsis. I wasn't believed and I was sent away from the hospital and the next day was taken back in quite a serious state. I think because I was young, but also because endometriosis just isn't taken seriously at all.
Is it because women go to the doctor and they say, I'm having really bad pains, and then what does the doctor say sometimes? Do they say, oh, well, everyone gets bad period pains, just have a bit of Nurofen? Is that what sometimes happens, Valentina?
Period and pelvic pain is a silent public health pandemic. It affects 9 out of 10 women. And research from the British Medical Journal tells us that we lose 9 to 12 productive days each year to period pain. But we can't really blame medical professionals, we can't blame GPs, we can't blame the NHS, because there isn't research that they can rely on. We have massively underfunded gynecological health as a whole. Currently, we spend only about 2.4% of our entire public health budget for the entirety of women's health. So that 2.4% is measly, and it has to stretch to cover breast cancer, maternity care, menopause, endometriosis. And because women were not allowed to take part in clinical trials up until 1993, we don't really know how most modern medications affect the female physiology versus the male physiology.
The People's Channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You have the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What's the time? It's 9:50. This is Britain's News on GB News.
Now, big day today.
Yeah, it is.
Legal challenges to the VAT on the private schools, which will be heard at the High Court today.
20 families and several faith schools are bringing legal action against the Treasury, claiming the new VAT on fees is discriminatory and a breach of human rights law. And it's already led to more than 70 schools closing, which is so sad.
Well, the whole purpose of it was meant to be raising a certain amount of money. As soon as schools start closing down, you won't raise that.
Exactly. Well, let's go to GB News reporter Adam Cherry, who's at the High Court. Adam, morning.
Yeah, good morning, guys. As you said, several schools here today. It's a 3-day case, this judicial review, claiming that imposing VAT on private school fees is discriminatory. And I'm joined now by a spokesperson for Education Against Taxation, Lavina Tandon. Lavina, thank you for joining us. Just tell us, first of all, why you're here today and a little bit about your campaign.
Yeah, of course. I really wish we were not here today, but it has come to this stage, and we wish we were talking with the government across the table, with the Prime Minister, the Education Secretary, and everyone. But we are here to support the court case that is going to start today and is going to go on for 3 days, that is calling this policy discriminatory, disproportionately discriminatory against the STEM children. Education, not taxation, though. We are a lot of parents, a group of 225,000 people plus, and it is a petition that started in October 2023 by Tony Perry. He himself has a son who has SEND needs, and we, though, stand for all children and all education. We are calling for education not to be taxed, and we urge that children, even if it is 6% of the children, in the large scheme of things, they are still children, we are still families and parents, and we shouldn't be forced out of our schools. In addition, we also urge that this policy is not going to be helping, but it might harm the public finances. As we all have already seen in various studies that have come through, that ISC also did a study that there might be 10% children leaving now, but there are many more. This is just at the tip of the iceberg, because we have seen April, awful April here now, from council tax to energy, everything is going on. It's going to affect everybody, even the 6% of the families. And we think that more people will leave. Already 14 to 15 schools, private schools have independent schools have shut down. So it is not only impacting the children, forcing them out of the school, pitting schools and children against each other, but they're also affecting the community, the jobs and the jobs of the teachers and the educational professionals. In addition, we already pay taxes and we do not occupy those spaces in the schools. So this is not, we didn't have a tax break, if you like. Instead, we are contributing to the education, not taking those spaces, and giving. Oxford Economics said it was 16.5 billion that we contribute to the economy and 4.4 billion in taxes. So, and state schools are already under pressure. So we urge for the government to speak to us and not tax.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lavina. Thank you very much for that. Really appreciate it. Guys, we're going to be here all morning, so we'll be speaking more to parents very shortly, so stay tuned.
All right, Adam Cherry, you can see how passionate Lavina is, and we'll follow that throughout the day. Right, we'll stay with us. We'll be joined by a consumer expert answering your questions on how to beat the 7 household bill rises. Email us, gbnews at gbviews@gbnews.com. This is Britain's newsroom on GB News. I thought I'd get through there eventually.
Here's your weather. Here's your weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another beautiful day out there, dry, sunny for virtually all of us, but with a cooling breeze, particularly towards the south and southwest, gusts of 30-35 miles an hour. Around hills and coasts of southwest England and West Wales. Otherwise, it's virtually cloud-free skies from the north of Scotland to the south of England, and under the strong sunshine, temperatures will respond very well. We're looking at mid to high teens widely. The warmest spots will be northwest Wales, northwest England, northern Scotland. Could see 20 Celsius. Feeling much cooler along the south and the east coast because of the brisk breeze. And we're going to see more of the same overnight. Widespread clear skies, just some patchy cloud here and there. And temperatures initially slow to fall, staying warm through the evening. 16, 17 Celsius there at 5 p.m. for northern Scotland. Northern Ireland, very little in the way of cloud. And for England and Wales, around sunset, also clear spells, but we keep the brisk breeze, and that means that it's going to be frost-free around some of these more exposed coasts. But inland, where we get some shelter from the breeze, temperatures will fall away, and during the hours of darkness we can expect temperatures to dip into the mid or even low single figures. So yeah, there'll be a touch of frost here and there, a few patches of cloud as we start off Wednesday. But otherwise, it's a similar start to Tuesday with plenty of blue skies from the word go. And it's another remarkably sunny day out there with barely any clouds in the sky, just some patches over the Pennines perhaps, but even that will disappear into the afternoon. And we keep a brisk breeze. It's perhaps less strong across southern parts compared with Tuesday, but it's still good to make it feel on the cool side, particularly along the North Sea coast, 11 to 13 Celsius here. It's in the west where we're going to see highs into the high teens.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed home battery storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News traffic and travel report.
The latest GB News travel.
Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. In Flintshire, the A55 North Wales Expressway is blocked westbound for emergency repairs between junctions 32 and 31 from Holywell to Caerwys, causing queues. In Cheshire, the A550 is partly blocked each way by an accident between the Two Mills traffic lights and the A494 at Shotwick, with queues each way towards there. The M6 in the West Midlands is blocked southbound by a shed load between junctions 5 and 4A towards the M42 near Birmingham, causing long delays. And on the M5 in Somerset, 2 lanes are closed southbound after an accident between junctions 22 and 23 from Burnham-on-Sea to Bridgewater North, causing queues. That's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News traffic and travel report.
It's the final week to see how you could spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's Tuesday, the 1st of April, April Fool's Day. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and me, Nana Acquare.
Household bills are soaring. We're going to have all the answers you need this morning as millions face price hikes in what's being called awful April. But didn't the Chancellor promise us only last week we'd all be better off?
People will be, on average, over £500 a year better off under this Labour government.
Bin strike chaos. A major incident has been declared in Birmingham as 17,000 tonnes of rubbish line the streets and they're rats the size of cats.
Gross.
The all-out bin strike has been happening since the 11th of March here in Birmingham, and the rubbish is piling high. She said 17,000 tonnes on the streets of Birmingham.
Forces the Sentencing Council to scrap ethnic minority two-tier sentencing for now.
Private school VAT showdown. The Independent Schools Council challenges Labour's VAT tax raid at the High Courts today as 77 schools have closed since it was introduced.
Trump's tariff war. The Prime Minister's admitted Britain will be hit by the President's global tariffs. So much for our special relationship.
I think we sort of deserve that tariff. But it's almost as though when I hear the Canadians and all the others speaking as though Donald Trump owes them a decent tariff. He doesn't have to. I mean, that is part of negotiation for getting what you want. He's right to do that.
He said America first. He's doing exactly what he said he would do. And he also said in the presidential campaign, tariffs are his favourite word. So what are we going to do to respond? Now, we also want to know it is bad, isn't it? Council taxes going up, electricity, gas, 7 bills are all rising, start of the new financial year. So we've got a consumer expert here from 10:30 for an hour who will take your questions. So you can email them, you can text them.
Yep, gbviews@gbnews.com or go through the gbnews.com/your say go through our website. But first, let's get your latest news with Katie Bowen.
Nana, Andrew, thank you and good morning. Your latest headlines from the GB Newsroom. Millions of households across the country will see their bills increase today, from energy and water prices to council tax and stamp duty. The 7 hikes in prices and tax coincide with the start of the new financial year in what's being dubbed awful April for consumers. Water bills are increasing by an average of £10 a month in England and Wales, while gas and electricity are up by £111 a year. Also today, the basic salary for members of Parliament has increased by 2.8%. Sticking with the economy, the Prime Minister visited the City of London this morning as the annual increases to the National Living Wage and National Minimum Wage take effect from today. Shadow Business and Trade Secretary Andrew Griffith spoke to GB News earlier on.
It all feels like it's coming at once. This is a difficult April for so many people, and where the government has real cause, such as the national insurance jobs tax, which is cascading through the economy in the way that we said 7 months ago, that's the area that the government has the most ability to change things even at this late stage.
Elsewhere, plans for a new sentencing guidelines for offenders from minorities have now been delayed after the government announced draft legislation to block the changes. The new guidelines issued by the Sentencing Council says judges should get a pre-sentence report before sentencing someone of an ethnic, cultural or faith minority, alongside other groups such as those aged 18 to 25, women and pregnant women. That guidance had been due to come into effect today, but Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood announced she would introduce a draft law to the Commons aimed at blocking the guidelines on the same date. The Independent Sentencing Council insisted the new instructions were necessary and appropriate, but would not be implemented while the introduction of a bill was imminent. Speaking overnight from the White House, US President Donald Trump says he has settled on a tariff plan and that the US will be nice, as Downing Street conceded yesterday that tariffs would probably affect Britain. In a new development, Sir Keir Starmer has been warned that there can be no free trade without free speech, as the US State Department issued a statement saying it was concerned about freedom of expression in the United Kingdom. President Trump's tariffs, including a 25% tariff on all automotive imports, are set to come into effect on his so-called Liberation Day tomorrow. He also said he wants to see Russian President Vladimir Putin follow through and make a deal to end the war in Ukraine.
You're going to see in 2 days, which is maybe tomorrow night or probably Wednesday, you're going to see, and they're reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we charge them, but we're being nicer than they were. We have a lot of countries, friend and foe. I always say friend and foe, but the friend in many cases is worse than the foe. They took advantage of us, and we are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice.
Birmingham City Council has declared a major incident to address the impact of the ongoing bin strike, as it estimates 17,000 tonnes of waste remain uncollected around the city. Members of the Unite Union in Birmingham are holding an all-out strike, which has led to rubbish piling up in the streets. The council says daily blocking of its depots by pickets has meant workers cannot get their vehicles out to collect waste. And leader of the French National Rally Party, Marine Le Pen, has attacked the decision to ban her from running for public office. In a French television interview late last night, Le Pen accused the judge of making a political decision worthy of a, quote, authoritarian regime. She's been barred from running for public office for 5 years with immediate effect after being found guilty of misappropriating funds from the European Union. A French court sentenced Le Pen to a 4-year jail sentence, of which 2 of those will be suspended. Her lawyer says she'll appeal against the court's decision. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Andrew and Nana.
Good morning, hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and me, Nana Akweer, in for Bev Turner.
Lots of people been getting in touch, I think, on emails and texts. And don't forget, we want you to get your household bills questions in, because today it's a pretty bad day because 7 bills are going up. And you can email your questions if you're worried about your council tax, your water bill, even your broadband bill, mobile phone bill. What else is going up?
All of it. Well, even the national insurance hike is coming as well. That's beyond that.
Your national insurance is going up too. You can email us very simply with gbviews@gbnews.com. That's gbviews@gbnews.com. What they've been saying now.
Well, Andy says, this is about the Birmingham City Council, of course. We've had the bin strike. Andy says Birmingham is the flagship of the Labour Party and showcases what the rest, if of the UK, can expect under his government. It's interesting, isn't it? Jess Phillips, she's one of the MPs in Birmingham.
She is.
So where is she? Why has she gone quiet? I mean,
I know.
I'd love to hear.
And we had that Birmingham MP at the weekend tweeting furiously and tabling questions in the Commons in support of a new airport in Kashmir. What's it got to do with him?
Well, it's just absurd.
Talk about the bin strike, mate.
Well, exactly. Keir Starmer doing all this global stuff, the coalition of the Willings.
Strutting his stuff on international stage as he likes to do.
Like a peacock, showing his feathers.
That summit yesterday on...
border force control, how they're all going to stop migration by having another meeting. Whilst he scrapped Rwanda, he needs a third place, another place to send people.
He needs a deterrent, and there is one.
Of course. That's what I think they missed. Rwanda was a deterrent. I hate it when people say, oh, but it only had a couple of hundred spaces. That's not the point. You would only need to put a couple of hundred people in there for the others to think, oh, I'm not doing that. That's what it was meant as, a deterrent.
I know, exactly. It's pretty grim, isn't it, really? So don't forget, again, we want your questions because we've got our consumer expert will be here with us from 10:30. But we're going to go up to Hartlepool because Sophie Reaper's there. Sophie.
Good morning to you both. Yes, we're in Hartlepool all day today. It is awful April. All of those bills are going up for households all over the UK. We're talking about water, we're talking about energy, we're talking about council tax, broadband, phone contracts, you name it. It's probably going to increase as of this month, hence the name Awful April. Now, as I say, we're in Hartlepool all day today. Joining me now is John Charlton, who owns various businesses in the local area. John, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, I know one big thing that's going to be affecting you is the hike in national insurance. That's going to go from 13.8% to 15% at the end of this week. Talk to me exactly about how that's going to affect you.
Right, good morning. We have a number of businesses in the local area, and we predominantly employ part-time people, and the increase that will be hitting our businesses is £1,500 in round figures per part-time employee per year.
So that's quite an amount.
It's a huge amount that you've got to find without trying to pass those price increases on to our customers in the different businesses that we have.
And how is that going to affect you more long term? I know you spoke about perhaps trying to grow the business. Is that going to have an impact there?
Yes, definitely. The last few weeks we were looking at a new premises in another town in the northeast, and we've decided to shelve that because of all of the increases that are coming our way. It just wouldn't add up. We couldn't make the figures stack up, so that's stifled the growth of our business.
Now, of course, it's not just national insurance, is it? We're into awful April now. You'll have, I'm sure, lots of overheads. You must pay council tax on premises. There's water, energy, all of those bills. How does that make you feel as a business owner, knowing that you somewhere are going to have to find that extra money?
It's a big struggle, and it's not just the utilities. We're getting daily calls from suppliers saying that the 10% going on price of goods, which 10% at the wholesaler, when we put our 10% on, the compounding of those 10% all add up. You've either got to pass that price on to the end user, the customer, or you've got to suck that up yourself and take a hit on your margins, which again puts the business under pressure.
And obviously we had the spring statement with the Chancellor last week. I just want to get your views on that. Did you feel that the businesses will be worse off? Did you feel like there was anything in there that might be particularly helpful?
I didn't see any positives. The only definite is we will have more costs in our business going forward, and you know there was no positives out of it at all in my eyes.
John, thank you so much for joining us this morning. There we are. And I think that the view that John expressed there is something that a lot of people will share. We heard at the weekend that almost as many people felt negatively about Rachel Reeves' spring statement that they did about Liz Truss's mini budget. So that is saying something. So we're going to be here in Hartlepool for the rest of today, hearing from more people like John, hearing from businesses, hearing from local residents about how exactly they're going to be affected by this month now known as Awful April.
Thank you very much, Sophie Reaper. Might as well stick to the normal thing that it's called April Fool's Day, because we are the fools on this one, aren't we?
We really are, yeah. I mean, all these bills going up. Water bills going up on average. Look at these figures, it's pretty. I mean, and water is so in line.
£10 more per month, roughly.
Yeah, £123 a year.
Yeah.
Energy. Do you remember when Ed Miliband told us before the general election that vote Labour, we will cut your energy bills by £300 a year? Well, they're going up £111 on average from this month a year. Broadband is up £36. Telephone will be up £45.
But they would argue that they're not really able to have much influence on things like broadband and such.
Well,
but they do have control of things like stamp duty.
They do, and also council tax. And the Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, councils can't raise the tax more than 4.99% unless they apply for special circumstances. She allowed.
Of course, they've been granted. They've been granted as well.
Some of them are raised them by 10%. We'll have to check what Birmingham Council's raised its council tax by.
That would be interesting, because if I was in Birmingham, I would be very tempted not to pay. And I'm not saying you should, because obviously that is breaking the law, and you could end up finding yourself with CCJs and all sorts, and then never being able to get finance. So you've got to be careful with that. But it's, you know, they're not providing the service.
They're certainly not. Now, at GB News, we'd love to hear what you think, and every day we'll be running our poll of the day. Today we're asking, as Awful April begins, have politicians no chance of ending our cost of living nightmare? We'll be bringing you the live results throughout the day, so make sure to stay tuned.
And as ever, for all our latest polls, go to gbnews.com/poll. Just really, some of you have been getting in touch as well about the Birmingham thing as well. Brian says, I don't know why people question Labour's special relationship with Trump. It's plain to see they hate him. Sorry, that's not quite about the bins, is it? But Adrian says this Labour government needs to go. JC says, Birmingham, what an awful place to live. That's what they're saying. If the residents were that concerned, they'd get together and remove the rubbish themselves. Then he says, dirty people. dare you, JC? Don't be awful. They're on strike, for goodness sake.
Now, let's go back to Birmingham, because GB News reporter Steve Bennett's there, because Birmingham has been declared a major incident because of this ongoing bin strike. Some people haven't seen a bin collector for 7 weeks. Steve Bennett's there for us. Steve, can you explain to us why has this strike dragged on for so long? What is it about?
Yes, absolutely. The first thing to say is the council tax you were just talking about, that has been raised in this area. We're just speaking to a local resident. They are paying more council tax and their bins aren't being collected. That's the first thing to point out off the back of what you were just saying. And where does this stem from? It comes from a long-running dispute between the bin workers and Birmingham City Council about making the role of waste and recycling collection officer redundant. That's what it comes down to. Now, that role is part of a 4-person bin crew that is actually out on the lorries up and down the streets, and the role deals with the safety of not just the crew themselves but of the British public as well. Now, the bin workers say it's a safety critical role, and by removing it, it will cost those workers who are forced to retrain or made redundant, it will cost them £8,000 a year. So that's where the dispute comes from. And then on top of that, Birmingham City Council have been using agency workers to plug the gap left by striking bin workers, and then they're paying those agency workers more money. So the whole situation is, there's this back and forth, and the bin workers here in Birmingham, they've made it clear that they are Birmingham residents. They're affected by this too. Their bins haven't been collected in this area. They were saying 4 weeks. This is Selly Oak area of Birmingham. In some areas it's 7 weeks they haven't had any bin collections. And if you just come across the road with me here, you'll see this is what they're faced with now. So the locals are telling me that their bins are so full in this area in particular that they're now bringing them to the edge of the street on the corners like this to tip all the bins out because they can't keep it in their homes. They're telling me some of them have got it in their garages, their sheds, and there's even some houses on this street here that don't have bins. They've had to pay for them privately because they don't have a front garden, so they don't qualify for a bin, which is also incredible to hear. And just since we've been stood here this morning, we've seen delivery vans driving over this pile of rubbish, splitting the bags. There's bags here that contain nappies, and we've seen reports elsewhere of giant rats running through the streets as well. So it really is a situation that is at breaking point for the residents. And last time I was here on the 11th of March, that's when the all-out bin strike started, and the locals had signed a petition for Birmingham City Council to fix this problem urgently. And of course, as you can see, that has not happened so far.
All right, Steve, that's Steve Bennett in Birmingham. But I just checked how much the council tax has gone up in Birmingham. It's gone up 7.5%.
That's ridiculous.
So that's way above the rate of inflation. And look at this level of service they're getting now. They wanted a 10% increase, but the Secretary of State, Angela Rayner, would only give them 7.5%. I say you're not getting any increase to get to the bins.
That's awful. That's awful. And well, it's just gone 18 minutes after 10 o'clock. Good morning. In a bold new initiative to combat fake news and political satire, the government has announced that the creation of a new cabinet position, the Minister for April Fool's Affairs. It's got to be a joke.
Right. The new role will reportedly focus on ensuring all political pranks are properly regulated and do not undermine public trust in government.
Well, let's bring in GB News' political editor, Christopher Hope. Christopher, what's that all about?
Well, it's quite worrying news, really. This leaked memo we received suggests the top armament will be given sweeping powers, including the ability to issue April Fool's fact-checking notices and even pre-approved jokes made by MPs and journalists like us. The move has already sparked controversy, not surprisingly, with opposition leaders accusing the government of trying to nationalise banter. I've got a government statement here for you both. The government spokesman tells us, given the state of British politics, it's increasingly difficult to tell satire from reality. This new role will help the public separate genuine incompetence from well-crafted pranks. Now, there are reports that our colleague at GB News, Sir Jacob Rees-Mogg, is being looked at for the role, as officials believe his deadpan delivery will make it impossible to tell whether he's joking.
Boom, boom. Very good,
Yes,
Christopher.
very good.
Thank you very much. I thought that was very, very interesting. As for genuine incompetence, just go to Birmingham. You want to see genuine incompetence.
Well, exactly. But
in action.
The weird thing is that could almost be real.
Exactly. Now, still ahead, as Household Bills saw this morning, we want to answer as many questions that you may have if you're worrying about paying your bills, where do they email it, Nana?
It's gbviews@gbnews.com. Up next, the government forces the Sentencing Council to scrap ethnic minority two-tier sentencing, a win for common sense.
You're with Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, parents across the country who had suffered a miscarriage will now be granted the right to bereavement leave. It's hard to believe that wasn't part of the law before. Well, it's now part of Labour's reforms on workers' rights.
Well, the change will benefit those who lose a pregnancy before 24 weeks.
Well, it's a victory for Keely Langthorne. She's the woman who's led the campaign for the law to be changed. And finally, it has. And Keely is with us now. She's the founder of George's Law and a partner, she's a lawyer as well, at RWK Goodman. And she herself has suffered 3 miscarriages. Keely joins us now. And Keely, it is so good to see you. Victory at last.
Victory at last. We've come a long way here, Lee.
Yeah. And we've spoken over the years so many times, haven't we? You've been campaigning for years for this under George's Law.
Yeah.
And it happened on George's birthday this week.
It did. So, yeah, it all started back in 22, shortly after I lost George. Obviously met you shortly after, started the campaign, and yeah, Monday evening we'll go down in history, George's 3rd birthday, being told that, yeah, it's going to finally be law.
So what will happen now? How much leave will women be able to have?
So now it will, Stephen, mirror that if you lose a baby after 24 weeks. So in this current stance, the law says if you lose a baby over 24 weeks, you get 2 weeks paid leave. So the same will now apply if you lose a baby under 24 weeks, so from 0 to 24.
It is unbelievable that the way that the law stood was that you could potentially have lost a baby at, let's say, 8 p.m. and you would be expected to be in the office at 9 a.m. the next morning.
Yeah, and if you think I had a 12-hour labour with George, I bathed him, I left him at the mortuary, but the law says that I should be, as a lawyer, back in work time recording the next day.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
.23, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Nana Rakuya of Joy for Me, in for Beverly Turner. And look who's here. The boys are here, Nigel Nelson and Piers Potter. Nigel, I've got to torment you, obviously, because I like to. It is Labour's flagship council.
Yeah.
Flagship council. And the bin strike now, some people haven't seen a bin collector for 7 weeks. For God's sake, why doesn't the Prime Minister knock some heads together and get this sorted?
I think the problem is that the Birmingham Council have had are in a financial crisis, as we know. So with 17,000 tonnes of rubbish piling up over that period since the strike started in January, they've got to declare an emergency to try and get this cleared. Now, I mean, it starts.
Why don't they just sort it out?
Well, it's really for the council and for the union, for Unite, to actually sort the thing out. I mean, it starts from job losses announced back in January. So it's really the two sides ought to sit down. I don't think it's a matter for central government.
Well, why not? It's a public health emergency.
It's a very good point, yeah. I mean, it is a public health emergency.
Well, yes. I mean, it's a Labour council. There are 101 councillors, by the way, which is quite a lot.
Yeah.
63 of them are Labour. And, of
quite
course,
a big city.
And Labour, I thought, were funded by the trade unions. And Unite are the people on strike which is why they've got this terrible situation. They've got a Labour mayor who took over from Andy Street,
that's right.
and he has been remarkably silent on
where
this
is he?
matter. In fact, invisible. They run for cover as soon as there's any trouble. It's a bankrupt council, which is outrageous in the first place. And the second thing is, it's a massive health hazard. You've got the rats on the streets and the rats in the council doing nothing about it.
But what about the MP, though? I mean, isn't it Jess Phillips? Is she covering that?
Jess Phillips is the MP.
But where is she?
She's not remotely interested in her constituents, clearly, because anyone who was in any way representing the people of Birmingham would be hammering at anyone's door to get this sorted out.
But the doors to be hammered are in fact the union and the council.
Yeah, well,
the council is the employer, and the union representing the workers.
The Labour Party, the first thing they did when they got into power was hand trade unions huge amounts of money without any kind of strings attached. I think Unite, it just shows you what a third-rate group of people Unite are.
And I know you say it's not a central government problem, but the Prime Minister's wields some heft and power here. Why doesn't he just call up the leader of the council and say, sort it out, mate?
Well, I mean...
Because, you know, we're getting international film crews coming in from all around the world to film Britain's second city because they can't believe this is what's happening.
Certainly, sort it out is absolutely the right message, but the point I'm making is the sorting out has to be done between the council and the union.
Right.
Well, at least in Naples now, they've got their rubbish problem sorted out because they got the mafia in to sort it out. Maybe that's what they need in Birmingham. Maybe they should get some of those wonderful Labour councillors from Liverpool. They've been arrested.
They have.
But I'm just still wondering about the MP there, because Jess Phillips was quick enough to have a go at Elon Musk when she felt that people were attacking her personally. But yet, where is she now? Because this is a Birmingham council, isn't it?
And we had another Birmingham MP banging on about an airport in blimmin' Kashmir.
The job for someone like Jess Phillips is to put pressure on the council and the union.
But she's very quiet.
I don't know, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes there. But, I mean, that would be her job. It's not her job to solve the problem.
Yes, but even that little bit you've said she hasn't done.
It's another example of how Labour cannot run anything.
Quite.
And it shows, it's emblematic of what's happening in this country under Labour. It is disintegrating. In everywhere you look is chaos brought on by this hopeless government who are destroying this country.
I don't need to say anything. He does it so well.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't start talking about the country based on what is going on in one city.
It's
the second city. It's the second biggest city.
I agree with all that. I agree with all that. What I'm saying is that
biggest council in Europe.
That suddenly we're now zipping over into the problems that Britain might be facing, rather than what
the second largest city in Britain is now a major health hazard for all its population. That is very serious. That is a national problem, not simply a Birmingham problem, and it should be addressed with swiftly. And these idiots at Unite should be crushed, put to one side, put in a waste compactor and dispensed with, and they should go and get independent people to pick up the rubbish and sort it out.
Unite give millions of pounds every year to the Labour Party.
Of course they do. And so they're terrified about taking them on properly.
Well,
it shows you
the job of any trade union is to represent its members. So I think we just take away the sort of the political aspect and what Unite and the Labour Party might do together. What Unite do there is represent the members. Whether you like what they're doing about representing their members, but they're trying to get the best deal for their own members, which seems to be the job of a trade union.
What a wonderful thing. So I mean, it just shows you how callous, how greedy, how stupid, and how pig ignorant
say what you mean. Say what you mean, Piers.
I mean, well, I feel very angry about what's happening in Birmingham. We are a civilised country. This should not be happening.
I mean, these images, if you're on the television, look at these images. If you're listening on the images are appalling. Piers, you and I, and you too, Nigel, we're old enough to remember the Winter of Discontent.
I was going to say, the Winter of Discontent is what it reminds me of.
Rubbish was piling up high. I can remember it in Swindon, where I grew up. The great shopping square near where I lived it was a sea of rubbish. It's beginning to look like that again.
Well, all you're talking about, can I just say, all you're talking about is the unions and the argument and this. What about the people of Birmingham?
That's right.
These are the people who they're meant to be serving, whether you're, you know, and the MPs are meant to be protecting the people from this sort of thing. So if they want to go on strike and argue with each other, unite, and the people who... the government still have a duty of care to the people of Birmingham,
Absolutely.
irrespective of what's going on in terms of indecisions with pay.
Well, I mean, Birmingham is in special measures, so, I mean, that was a central government thing. I don't know how you solve it instantly, but I still maintain that the people in the front line to solve it are the council and the union.
Well, it's in special measures because the Labour councillors made a complete mess of running the council.
All right, well, listen,
that's why it's in special
let's talk about this one, because this is really, I want to hear your thoughts on this. Soft Touch UK on course for record immigration. That's amid mounting concern over the government's plan to end the Channel crisis. The Prime Minister said he was introducing tough measures to deter crossings.
What are the tough measures?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what we've had is what is continued today is the international summit, 40 countries here, to come up with some ideas because immigration is a global problem.
Scary.
When it comes to well, I mean, there is no single solution to stopping Channel boat crossings or indeed dealing with legal
I thought they were
immigration.
going to smash the gangs.
But that's exactly what they're doing. So
why have we got record numbers of
because
crossing
that will take time. You're talking about 9 months of a Labour government and 14 years of a Tory one. What we had over the weekend, we had various things over the weekend to deal with it. So things like, I mean, disgracefully, 10,000 people who had overstayed on their visa ended up in asylum hotels. That is now being ended. Goodness knows how that happened.
Are they sending them back then?
Well, that's the point. Why aren't they sending them back? These are people who come from clearly safe countries. We know their identity, so we know the countries they come from. They should be fast-tracked and sent home. Why are they destitute when they have to come here if they're a student with £25,000 in their pocket, if they're working here on £38,700 a year? What on earth has happened there?
Well, for 14 years, the Labour Party voted against every single thing that the Conservatives tried to do to sort out this problem. They voted against
You and I
it all.
both know
Now
that's what opposition parties do.
Now they are in power.
That's not a very good explanation.
No, it is
that's
actually.
not what they do. They're supposed to work in the best interests of the country.
That's the best you can come up with.
No, this is what opposition parties do is there are bits of bills that they don't like. There may be bits of bills that
Aren't
they do
there
like.
issues where they would come together
And there
in
are
the interest
some.
of national interest?
And what is happening, the sentencing council, I imagine, would be pretty much unanimous across the House.
But now they're in
power.
Of course they realise it's a complicated issue. It's not as simple as they thought it was. They're now trying to do some of the similar things, but they promised only a few months ago. Angela Rayner was on all the airwaves saying how they were going to get everyone out of hotels. And instead, they're increasing them because they can't get them out of hotels because there's nowhere for them to go.
And what you're trying to do is actually address a broken system that's existed. I mean, another example would have been, again, this came out over the weekend, we're not making not making immigration checks on people who flexibly work.
Yeah, but
why on earth are we not doing that?
Phrase, smash the gangs. It's almost as ineffective as stop the boats. Smashing the gangs isn't going to solve the problem. The real problem is the people. The gangs wouldn't exist if people didn't want to come here. And they come here purely because they want to sponge off our economy.
On that note, gentlemen, we're running late for the headlines. Katie Bone is sitting there very patiently. Headlines, Katie Bone.
Nana, Andrew, thank you. Your top stories this hour. Millions of households across the country will see their bills increase today, from energy and water prices to council tax and stamp duty. The 7 hikes in prices and tax coincide with the new financial year in what's being dubbed Awful April for consumers. Water bills are increasing by an average of £10 a month in England and Wales, while gas and electricity are up by £111 a year. Also today, the basic salary for members of Parliament has increased by 2.8%. And sticking with the economy, the Prime Minister visited the City of London this morning as the annual increases to the National Living Wage and the National Minimum Wage take effect. Shadow Business and Trade Secretary Andrew Griffith spoke to GB News earlier on.
It all feels like it's coming at once. This is a difficult April for so many people, and where the government has real cause, such as the national insurance jobs tax, which is cascading through the economy in the way that we said 7 months ago, that's the area that the government has the most ability to change things even at this late stage.
Plans for new sentencing guidelines for offenders from minorities have now been delayed after the government announced draft legislation to block the changes. The new guidelines issued by the Sentencing Council says judges should get a pre-sentence report before sentencing someone from an ethnic, cultural or faith minority, alongside other groups such as those aged 18 to 25, women and pregnant women. That guidance had been due to come into effect today, but Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood announced she would introduce a draft law to the Commons aimed at blocking the guidelines on the same date. The Independent Sentencing Council insisted the new instructions were necessary and appropriate, but would not be implemented while the introduction of a bill was imminent. And speaking overnight from the White House, US President Donald Trump says he has settled on a tariff plan and that the US will be nice, as Downing Street conceded yesterday that tariffs probably would affect Britain. In a new development, Sir Keir Starmer has been warned that there can be no free trade without free speech, as the US State Department issued a statement saying it was concerned about freedom of expression in the United Kingdom. President Trump's tariffs, including a 25% tariff on all automotive imports, are set to come into effect on his so-called Liberation Day tomorrow. He also said he wants to see Russian President Vladimir Putin follow through and make a deal to end the war in Ukraine. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Done. My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound will buy you $1.2935 and €1.1952. The price of gold is £2,421.53 per ounce, and the FTSE 100's at 8,663 points.
Done. My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning. It's your final week now to see how you could win our massive spring giveaway and grab a designer handbag, designer watches and an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash. Make sure you don't miss that one. Here's your chance to win.
There's just 3 days remaining to spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag and not one, but 2 sought-after designer watches, so you can style it out this spring. Hurry, lines close on Friday. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, good luck indeed. Well, up next, you can email your questions at gbviews@gbnews.com. We'll be joined by a top consumer expert giving advice on how to beat the blues of the soaring household bills. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
The latest GB News travel. Good morning, I'm Russell Holding. On the M6 in the West Midlands, there's a lane closed southbound where a lorry's shed its load between junctions 5 and 4A towards the M42 near Birmingham. There are queues from junction 7. On the M4 in the Vale of Glamorgan, there's an accident westbound at junction 34 at Miskin. It's causing delays as you divert via the roundabout there. On the M5 in Somerset, there are 2 lanes closed southbound after an accident between junctions 22 and 23 from Burnham-on-Sea to the Bridgewater North turn, causing queues. And on the M27 in Hampshire, there's a lane closed eastbound after an accident between junctions 8 and 9 towards Fareham, causing delays. And that's the latest.
You can stay up to date throughout the day by visiting our website, gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Good morning. 42 minutes after 10. This is Britain's Newsroom.
So we're talking about, what are we calling it? Awful April?
Awful April. April Fool's Day. We might as well stick with its normal name.
Water and energy bills are up.
We've got council tax and car tax up.
Stamp duty and broadband up.
Welcome to what's being dubbed as Awful April. Millions set to face price hikes from today. 7 bills and tax changes due to go up from today.
And don't forget the national insurance rise, of course,
well,
too, which will really hit small companies in particular. But here on Britain's Newsroom, we're here to help you beat those April blues.
So we are joined by Helen Dewdney, consumer and retail expert. Helen, thank you very much for joining us. And now, Helen, lots of people have been in touch and they've got questions for you. So I'm going to read one. This is from Philip. He says, I'm a 77-year-old pensioner. Heating and hot meals are a luxury I just can't afford. My last month's energy bill was £38 for gas and electricity, but £26 of standing charges and VAT. Is there any way around these extra charges? Oh, we can't hear her. Oh, that's better.
We've got you now, Helen. Yep. Sorry, Helen. Fire away.
Go for it.
Can you hear me now?
We can. Lovely.
Okay. There isn't a lot you can do because they are the prices, but it is worth looking at comparison sites. Look to see if you can get a cheaper company for you, but also make sure that you are getting everything that you are entitled to. Thousands of people are not getting pension credit. They're not getting other benefits that they're entitled to that might actually get them access to other benefits as well. So it is worth checking the benefits calculator, but also if you are thinking that you may well go into debt because of your energy costs, you do contact the energy company. They may well be able to put you on a payment plan to ease things to when hopefully prices might come down. But do look at comparison sites, and maybe you can change your supplier as well.
What about, Helen, there's somebody, I'm just thinking of somebody who might be watching or listening who actually, they're not very good on the internet, and the idea that they're going to find a comparison site is going to be a bit difficult for them. How do we help them?
It is really difficult, and I think it's a case of trying to get some charities to help. Citizens Advice will help there, but you can pick up the phone. You can pick up the phone to the energy companies and say, look, I am struggling, help me out with this, but also make sure that you get it in writing, because if you're going to phone and get an offer and then it doesn't happen, you haven't got any record of that. So do try and follow it up. You know, there's nothing wrong with the snail mail. You can still write and say that, you know, you've got these. You've got some financial issues, and please can they help? So, and I think it is a case for friends and family of offering help as well, and making sure that we are helping our friends and neighbours and seeing if there is anything we can do to help.
All right. Helen, shall I do this?
Yeah, carry on.
Well, I've got one here. Now, this is from Karen. She says, my daughter and her partner have missed the stamp duty deadline today, costing them an additional £15,000 for the sake of a couple of weeks. What can they do? Do you think the Chancellor will help first-time buyers anytime soon? How she laughs.
Was a crystal ball. I mean, if you've missed the deadline, you've missed the deadline, and that's, you know, it's called, the polite term, I think, is Murphy's Law. But I don't think we're going to see any help anytime soon. I think there's so much going on and the changes all the time. I can't see there being any help. But I mean, I'm not a politician, who knows, but I doubt it very much.
Why are company broadband bills, for instance, Helen, they go up above the rate of inflation? What financial pressure are they under that they feel they can raise prices so high above inflation? I mean, we understand the water companies, we hate the water companies, but they say, oh, we want the extra money to invest in improving water safety. But what's the excuse of these broadband providers who just declare it's gone up?
I know. Well, I'm afraid I'm very, very cynical, and I think there's absolutely no excuse whatsoever. I mean, you're looking at Sky recently saying that they're closing down 3 call centres because people aren't phoning anymore and they're using the internet. But actually, consumers told me, well, whenever I try and phone, I can't get through to anybody for at least an hour. So people still are trying to phone. So the customer service is going down. They're not investing in customer service. They're providing incredibly poor service right across the board. But what I would say to people is always haggle. I hear so many stories about people who haggle with their broadband and phone companies. I do it every year and I win every year. It actually isn't that difficult. So my best advice about the broadband is bring it down. If you say you're going to leave the company, they will do their utmost to try and keep you. So be polite, be assertive, do your research beforehand. So look at all the other companies, see what deals they've got for new customers, and also look at how much it would cost you if you were to break the contract early.
It's good advice.
It might still be cheaper for you to go.
It's very good advice, because I noticed in my bank statement, I go through every line of it, I thought, hang on, my broadband's gone up, and my package had gone up from 35 to 48. They never even told me. But try and find it, and I couldn't find a phone number, Helen, to ring anyone.
Well, they do have to tell you. So that's a breach of consumer law if they haven't told you. So you can have them on that.
Right, I will.
But if they don't provide a phone number because they don't want you to contact them.
Of course they don't.
But if you go to ceoemail.com, you'll find the email address for the CEO. Now the CEO isn't going to respond personally, but it does get it escalated to that team.
Oh, very interesting.
I tend not to phone because I just get annoyed and I just get really, aggressive.
Well, no one ever picks up the phone. Well, no one ever picks up the phone, Helen. Most of them haven't got the thing manned or womaned or personed.
Exactly.
Listen, Helen, stay with us because we've got to move on. But we will come back to you. That's Helen Dewdney. She's a consumer expert.
And do keep your questions coming into Helen because she's here to answer your questions. We've got that email. What is that email address?
It's gbviews@gbnews.com, or you can even go on the website at gbnews.com.
gbnews.com/your say.
Now, still ahead, a major incident is declared in Birmingham as 17,000 tonnes of stinking piles of rubbish line the streets in our second city.
And again, more of your questions about avoiding the soaring household bills, email us gbviews@gbnews.com. But if you're in search of some winter sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're heading further afield over the next few days, it is going to be unsettled across much of the Mediterranean, particularly for Greece, where very lively showers and thunderstorms will continue during Wednesday. Showery for southern Italy, but northern Italy largely fine with some sunshine. South of France into Spain and Portugal. We've got spells of rain moving in along with a gusty wind, and that unsettled weather sticks around for the end of the week, whilst the showers become fewer and less frequent in Greece.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another beautiful day out there, dry, sunny for virtually all of us, but with a cooling breeze, particularly towards the south and southwest, gusts of 30-35 miles an hour, particularly around exposed hills and coasts of southwest England and West Wales. Otherwise, it's virtually cloud-free skies from the north of Scotland to the south of England, and under the strong sunshine, temperatures will respond very well. We're looking at mid to high teens widely. The warmest spots will be northwest Wales, northwest England, northern Scotland. Could see 20 Celsius. Feeling much cooler along the south and the east coast because of the brisk breeze. And we're going to see more of the same overnight. Widespread clear skies, just some patchy cloud here and there. And temperatures initially slow to fall, staying warm through the evening. 16, 17 Celsius there at 5 p.m. for northern Scotland. Northern Ireland, very little in the way of cloud. And for England and Wales, around sunset, also clear spells, but we keep the brisk breeze, and that means that it's going to be frost-free around some of these more exposed coasts. But inland, where we get some shelter from the breeze, temperatures will fall away, and during the hours of darkness we can expect temperatures to dip into the mid or even low single figures. So yeah, there'll be a touch of frost here and there, a few patches of cloud as we start off Wednesday. But otherwise, it's a similar start to Tuesday with plenty of blue skies from the word go. And it's another remarkably sunny day out there with barely any clouds in the sky, just some patches over the Pennines perhaps, but even that will disappear into the afternoon. We keep a brisk breeze. It's perhaps less strong across southern parts compared with Tuesday, but it's still good to make it feel on the cool side, particularly along the North Sea coast, 11 to 13 Celsius here. It's in the west where we're going to see highs into the high teens.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, good morning even, I keep thinking we're on another show. Right, well, we've got our expert here. She is Helen Dewdney, and she's answering your questions. This one's from Anne. Helen, why are residents in Westminster paying a lower council tax tariff than South Townside, where I live in the North East?
I mean, that's the question we've all been asking for years and years and years. It's what the council set. It's what they set for what they want to provide for their services. I mean, there are certain boroughs in London where you're on one side of the road and on the other side you pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds more a year. It's literally down to the councils and they set the fees, nobody else.
It goes all the way back to, do you remember her Dame Shirley Porter who ran Westminster Council in the 1990s, Helen?
Yeah.
It is extraordinary. But Helen's going to stay with us, so keep your questions coming in. We've got lots for her. Still ahead, we're going to have the latest from the High Court, where the Chancellor's VAT hike on private school fees is facing a legal challenge from parents and schools. This is Britain's Newsroom.
They're rightly furious, absolutely.
They are furious, and we're wishing them all the best in their channel. This is the People's Channel. Here's your weather.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another beautiful day out there, dry, sunny for virtually all of us, but with a cooling breeze, particularly towards the south and southwest, gusts of 30-35 miles an hour, particularly around exposed hills and coasts of southwest England and West Wales. Otherwise, it's virtually cloud-free skies from the north of Scotland to the south of England, and under the strong sunshine, temperatures will respond very well. We're looking at mid to high teens widely. The warmest spots will be northwest Wales, northwest England, northern Scotland. Could see 20 Celsius. Feeling much cooler along the south and the east coast because of the brisk breeze. And we're going to see more of the same overnight. Widespread clear skies, just some patchy cloud here and there. And temperatures initially slow to fall, staying warm through the evening. 16, 17 Celsius there at 5 p.m. for northern Scotland. Northern Ireland, very little in the way of cloud. And for England and Wales, around sunset, also clear spells, but we keep the brisk breeze, and that means that it's going to be frost-free around some of these more exposed coasts. But inland, where we get some shelter from the breeze, temperatures will fall away, and during the hours of darkness we can expect temperatures to dip into the mid or even low single figures. So yeah, there'll be a touch of frost here and there, a few patches of cloud as we start off Wednesday. But otherwise, it's a similar start to Tuesday with plenty of blue skies from the word go. And it's another remarkably sunny day out there with barely any clouds in the sky, just some patches over the Pennines perhaps, but even that will disappear into the afternoon. We keep a brisk breeze. It's perhaps less strong across southern parts compared with Tuesday, but it's still good to make it feel on the cool side, particularly along the North Sea coast, 11 to 13 Celsius here. It's in the west where we're going to see highs into the high teens.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
It's the final week to see how you can spruce up your spring, as we have an incredible £17,777 in tax-free cash to be won. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you the latest Mulberry handbag, and not one, but two sought-after designer watches. Make sure you don't miss out, as lines close on the 4th of April. For another chance to win the lot, text cash to 63232. One entry costs £2 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63232. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start from just £2. Call 0903 681 3232. Calls cost £2 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB12 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 6 p.m. on the 4th of April. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
It's 11 o'clock on Tuesday, the 1st of April, live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Nana Aquia.
Good morning to you. Household bills soar. Well, we'll have all the answers that you need this morning as millions of us face price hikes in what's been dubbed as awful April. But didn't the Chancellor promise that we'd all be better off?
People will be, on average, over £500 a year better off under this Labour government.
Well, for any Brits who were hoping to save money this month, unfortunately, that ship has well and truly sailed. As we enter awful April, we're here in Hartlepool finding out how real people are being affected by the hike in bills and taxes.
Bin strike chaos. A major incident has been declared in Birmingham, our second city, as 17,000 tonnes of stinking rubbish line the streets, and there are rats literally the size of cats.
Justice U-turn. The government forces the Sentencing Council to scrap ethnic minority two-tier sentencing for now.
And there's a showdown at the High Court. The Independent Schools Council is challenging the Labour government's VAT tax raid at the High Court today.
I'm outside the Royal Court of Justice today as teachers, parents and campaign groups challenge the government over what they say is an illegal and discriminatory introduction of VAT on private school fees.
Trump's tariff war. The Prime Minister admits that Britain will be hit by the US President's global tariffs. But what about our special relationship?
And there is going to be a White House briefing which we think will tell us more about the tariffs at 5 p.m, which of course we will cover live here on GB News. Don't forget, if you've got concerns about these bills that are soaring in awful April, we've got an expert here to answer your questions.
Yeah, so stay with us there. Send your thoughts in gbnews.com/your say or gbviews@gbnews.com. But first, let's get an update with your news with Katie Bowen.
Andrew, Nana, thank you and good morning. It's 2 minutes past 11. These are your latest headlines from the GB Newsroom. Millions of households across the country will see their bills increase today, from energy and water prices to council tax and stamp duty. The 7 hikes in prices and tax coincide with the new financial year in what's being dubbed awful April for consumers. Water bills are increasing by an average of £10 a month in England and Wales, while gas and electricity are up by £111 a year. Also today, the basic salary for members of Parliament has increased by 2.8%. And sticking with the economy, the Prime Minister visited the City of London this morning as the annual increases to the national living wage and national minimum wage take effect today. Shadow Business and Trade Secretary Andrew Griffith spoke to GB News earlier on.
It all feels like it's coming at once. This is a difficult April for so many people, and where the government has real cause, such as the national insurance jobs tax, which is cascading through the economy in the way that we said 7 months ago, that's the area that the government has the most ability to change things even at this late stage.
Elsewhere, plans for new sentencing guidelines for offenders from minorities have now been delayed after the government announced draft legislation to block the changes. New guidelines issued by the Sentencing Council says judges should get a pre-sentence report before sentencing someone of an ethnic, cultural or faith minority, alongside other groups such as those aged 18 to 25, women and pregnant women. That guidance had been due to come into effect today, but Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood announced she would introduce a draft law to the Commons aimed at blocking the guidelines on the same date. The Independent Sentencing Council insisted the new instructions were necessary and appropriate, but would not be implemented while the introduction of a bill was imminent. Speaking overnight from the White House, US President Donald Trump says he has settled on a tariff plan and that the US will be nice, as Downing Street conceded yesterday that tariffs would probably affect Britain. In a new development, Sir Keir Starmer has been warned that there can be no free trade without free speech, as the US State Department issued a statement saying it was concerned about freedom of expression in the United Kingdom. President Trump's tariffs, including a 25% tariff on all automotive imports, are set to come into effect on his so-called Liberation Day tomorrow. He also said he wants to see Russian President Vladimir Putin follow through and make a deal to end the war in Ukraine.
You're going to see in 2 days, which is maybe tomorrow night or probably Wednesday, you're going to see, and they're reciprocal. So whatever they charge us, we charge them, but we're being nicer than they were. We have a lot of countries, friend and foe. I always say friend and foe, but the friend in many cases is worse than the foe. They took advantage of us, and we are going to be very nice by comparison to what they were. The numbers will be lower than what they've been charging us, and in some cases maybe substantially lower, but we sort of have a world obligation perhaps. But we're going to be very nice.
Birmingham City Council has declared a major incident to address the impact of the ongoing bin strike, as it estimates 17,000 tonnes of waste remain uncollected around the city. Members of the Unite Union in Birmingham are holding an all-out strike, which has led to rubbish piling up in the streets. The council says daily blocking of its depots by pickets has meant workers cannot get their vehicles out to collect waste. And leader of the French National Rally Party, Marine Le Pen, has attacked the decision to ban her from running for public office. In a French television interview late last night, Le Pen accused the judge of making a political decision worthy of a, quote, authoritarian regime. She's been barred from running for public office for 5 years with immediate effect after being found guilty of misappropriating funds from the European Union. A French court sentenced Le Pen to a 4-year jail sentence, of which 2 of those years will be suspended. Her lawyer says she'll appeal against the court's decision. Those are the latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Andrew and Nana.
Yeah.
Well, hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the United Kingdom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and me, Nana Akwe, in for Bev Turner.
Well, we're delighted that we've still got with us in the studio Helen Dewdney, who is a consumer and retail expert. And we're also joined now by GB viewer Julie Ford,
yes,
who I think you know rather well.
I do.
Julie, I think you want to ask a question to Helen. Morning to you, Julie.
Morning, Julie.
Good morning, Andrew. Good morning, Nana. And hi, Helen. So my question for you, as a property expert myself, what can the consumers out there in the private rented sector do to mitigate all of this extra cost? Their energy rises, their council tax, even their bus tickets are going up. So both the consumers, tenants and landlords, what on earth can they do to help themselves?
Oh, we can't hear you.
Sector, because landlords quite often are now selling their property because they can't afford the mortgages, and so there's less property to rent. So that's been sort of unhelpful as well. I think it's a lot about keeping dialogue going. So as a tenant, keep talking to your landlord and explain the sort of situation. Some rent is better than none, but look after the property, do things if you can, maintain it well, you know, try and do things in the property that perhaps would make it improve the value so that the landlord sees you as a good tenant. Because if you were to leave, it's going to cost the landlord more to find another tenant because they're going to lose their months in advance and all of that. So, and the finder's fee. So be a good tenant. That's probably the first thing I would say to anyone that's renting, because that's really going to help you, and see what things that you can do to help. But I think just everything else, it's the same as anyone else. It's all those bills. It's making sure you're looking at cashback sites. It's looking at how you can save money. And I would say this as a consumer expert, but don't take poor service. You know, so many people go, I haven't got time, or I don't know how to complain about this. I don't know how to complain about that. Just do it. There is a lot of advice out there. There's lots of help. There's templates. There's, you know, lots of information. You don't need to be a lawyer to assert your consumer rights. So don't let companies, businesses, landlords, whoever provide you with poor service that you're paying for. Make sure you get that money. Make sure you get that redress back, because that's just lost income for you. You know, if you've got to buy a new washing machine, if you've got to buy, and you shouldn't have to. So make sure you know your rights, know where to look for that. Check your bank accounts. Making sure you're not paying for direct debit on subscriptions that you didn't realise that you'd signed up to, or you're not using anymore. So it is a case of and making sure you're getting the help. You know, I mentioned this earlier. If you think you're going into debt, or you think you might do, or you are, is to go to those charities like Citizens Advice, Turn to Us, National Deadline, because they'll all help you budget, and they'll help you look at your priority bills, which ones you have to pay first, those utility bills, and how you can budget and what you can put away and what to pay off first, who you can talk with. And maybe there are local grants that you can access. There will be different grants that you can access with different companies. So I think it's a case about making sure you're talking, and just talking to all of those companies where you think you may owe money or you're going to owe money, and talk to them, because you get that dialogue going, it will be helpful. So it's just about keeping talking and not keeping it all in, which is not going to do your mental health any good either.
All right, Helen Dewdney, thank you very much, and Julie Ford, thanks for that question. Before you go, Helen, you gave an email address, because when people are often trying to look for someone to contact from a company, you said you'd email the CEOs, and there's a CEO email address. Could you just reiterate that slowly, so if anyone wants to write that down?
Yeah, if you go to ceoemail.com, that provides you with the CEO's email address for any company. And if it doesn't, or it's out of date, very rarely, but there are thousands on there, then you just contact the editor on that site, and he will find the email address for you. Now, the CEO is very unlikely to respond personally. Some do, very few do, who are actually monitoring what's going on in their company. But normally it will go to an escalations team, and it does mean that you get it in writing. So I'd always advise putting any complaint, anything in writing, so that should you need to take the matter further, you've got all that evidence in writing. But that will provide you with the email address for your company, so you will get it into the system, and they will not be able to get out of not contacting you.
All right, Helen Dewdney, thank you very much.
Really important advice. Thanks, Helen. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Now, if we're talking about Awful April, let's go back to Hartlepool, which is with our very own Sophie Reaper. Sophie, there we are, Sophie. Looks lovely there today, but of course people in Hartlepool, like the rest of the country, they're worrying about paying their bills in what we have now come to be calling Awful April.
Well, good morning to you both once. We can really take in these beautiful, beautiful views, but it's those beautiful views are contrasted with a dark cloud hanging over Hartlepool, and in fact over the rest of the UK today. As you say, we have now entered Awful April, and it's being called Awful April because of the sheer volume of bills and taxes that are increasing this month. Water, energy, council tax, car tax, broadband, TV licence, even the cost of the stamp is going up this month. So it's hitting essentially everybody. But joining us now to talk a bit more about this is Simon Corbett, who is a business owner in the local area. Simon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I want to talk first of all about how you're going to be impacted by the various bills. What is it that you're most concerned about?
staff, people, morale, culture. We look after our people at Orange Box, and we probably have around about 70 members of staff. And to see that their bills, their running costs, their life costs are just going up and up and up, it's got to affect their mental well-being, their mental health. It's my job to look after them, but it's also, I've got a business to run, so I've got to make sure that the revenue that is coming in not just allows enough to run the business, but also to look after the staff as well.
Now, you say there 70 members of staff. What with the increase to the minimum wage, the increase to national insurance, all of these things, all of that has got to be having an impact on your takings as a business owner.
It's massive impact. It's constant take. There's not much reward to run a business, and as an entrepreneur or self-employed people, what gives you the motivation to set up or to run or to keep running a business? We just keep going. We have to keep going, but there needs to be something. There's got to be some kind of give to support us.
What is it that drives you to keep going? You said there that there's no real reward to it. What is it that makes you wake up in the morning and carry on?
We're really proud of what we do. We're proud of what we've created. We started Orange Box from scratch and we've grown it. We've got a great reputation, and just the togetherness and the teamwork, the values that we all stick to in Orange Box makes us feel really proud and obviously keeps us going.
Now, of course, it's not just things like national insurance that's going up. We talked earlier about your overheads, for example, energy bills going up, water bills going up, council tax going up. It's all adding up, isn't it? How's that going to impact the business?
Well, it hits the revenue that we bring in. There's a large percentage of that now goes out just on running costs as a business. You include everything that you've mentioned there, from salaries, tax, national insurance. Our top line doesn't change too much, but the money that we pay out, obviously, just keeps going up. There's got to be some kind of support out there.
What kind of support would you ask for? Obviously, we had the spring statement from the Chancellor last week. What did you make of that? Did you feel there was enough support put in place or not enough?
I don't feel any support. There's nobody giving me or offering me any kind of support. I don't see it. All I read, all I see is everything that I'm paying out is going up. And I get it. I've got staff. I value them. They do absolutely awesome jobs. I've got to look after their mental health, their well-being, and do what I possibly can. But there's got to be some support out there for businesses.
Simon, thank you so much for joining us this morning. There we are. And just another example of a business owner who is striving to carry on but is being put under extreme amounts of pressure by awful April.
All right, Sophie Reaper, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. Lovely out there. It looked beautiful, didn't it?
Really did.
Yeah, lovely.
Nice part of the world too. Now, coming up, Department for Education data show that a toddler, can you believe this, was suspended from nursery for abuse against sexual orientation and gender identity, for God's sake.
Oh, it's ridiculous. This morning, we are asking, should we be teaching toddlers about stuff like this?
Rami and his siblings. And this is Wren and their siblings.
Their siblings, note CBeebies, of course, which is a part of the BBC. Their siblings, no. His or hers?
I just find it all a bit ridiculous. It's gentle indoctrination with little bits of wording every now and again. So that's basically a gender-neutral raccoon, which gender-neutral, I think they kind of made up that non-binary nonsense about this new word, isn't it? The whole thing is unsurprisingly on the woke BBC on their show Hey Dougie.
So the political commentator Emma Trimble and the DJ and podcaster James Barr joins us now. Emma, can I ask you first? I just had to read it 3 times to convince myself that I'd read it correctly, that a 3 or 4-year-old was chucked out of a nursery class for being transphobic. What 3 or 4-year-old even knows what transphobia means?
Yeah, we've had a solid 5 years of pretty crazy stories, and still somehow this manages to be up there. I mean, there are 2 options here, because it mentions sexual orientation in those statistics as well, and we don't know the exact details of the case. It could be that the child has repeated some kind of, homophobic slur, maybe repeated a name that they've heard somewhere else, or it could be that they've said something like, that's a man when that person identifies as a woman or whatever. In either case, suspending the child is a completely inappropriate thing to do. And I think what the real deep concern is here is it's not just gentle indoctrination. It's also actually putting children at risk, because it's ascribing children moral agency to hold a child to account for basically making the kind of mistake that some adults would make. But it's also effectively teaching children to distrust their own instincts, distrust their own senses. And at such an important developmental age, particularly with toddlers who already have magical thinking, I think teaching them this kind of ideology, which is exceptionally contested, and then also holding them to account when they step on certain tripwires, as far as I'm concerned, this is child abuse.
It's sinister. It's absolutely sinister. What on earth, how on earth can you hold a 3 or 4-year-old to account for just maybe making some comment because they're a child? James Barr, oh, he's gone. James, just when I wanted to hear what he had to say. Can we try and get James back? Because I want to hear what he has to say.
Well, Emma, you've got the floor to yourself.
You
Emma.
have. Look,
so carry on.
Carry on.
So maybe I should present the devil's advocate position and pretend to be trans.
To be honest. Just be honest.
But it's just another sign that the world's gone mad. Whatever this child said this toddler said in the nursery, they might have picked it up at home possibly, or as you say, somewhere else. But no child of 3 or 4 understands transphobia, or in my view, homophobia.
Well, it's not exactly an easily understood ideology. I think many of the people who are teaching it, many of the people, in fact, who are activists for it, seem to not really understand the intellectual origins of what they're advocating for. So to expect children, never mind a toddler, to be able to stay on the right side of all of these lines that this ideology has drawn, that we're not allowed to trespass upon, otherwise it sets off a landmine, is completely unreasonable. I mean, the other side of this, of course, is that if they have just repeated something that they've said at home, or, you know, sometimes children will point at something and say that it is the complete opposite of what it is. It might be an object, it might be a cat, and they might call it a dog. You know, children have magical thinking. And so actually, I think this suggests that there's something really very wrong with the teachers in whatever school that is.
Shall we bring James in quickly? Because because James is back. I thought you ran away, James. I'm sure you wouldn't.
I think my Zoom was so offended by Emma's ideology that I was kicked out of the room. But thank you for having me. Another day in paradise. Great to hear your opinions, Emma. Listen, I think this is one child who said some things they maybe shouldn't have said. We don't actually know what happened, but any child that makes an environment unsafe for another child should be held accountable regardless of their age. I think we all agree, I'm sure, that children should be taught empathy, kindness, love at whatever age. And if someone disrupted that in an environment where all the children were affected, then of course they need to be suspended, regardless of what for. I think you'd agree with that, Emma.
I would agree that if a child does something dangerous, then they should be punished for it. I think children should be...
But there are many other children in this research that were also thrown out of classrooms for other things.
Well, you did ask me a question, and I did try to answer
one child.
Hang on, let Emma answer the question.
I mean, and also all of those other children are, young children in primary school and should not have been suspended. I mean, if a child repeats something that they've heard...
Sorry to ask, you don't think any child should ever be suspended from primary school or nursery?
Unless they do something that physically endangers another child or themselves, then no.
But he didn't listen. Okay, but can we come back to you? Can we come back to the point now? Sorry, can we come back to the point? So you think, James, that it's okay for a child to be suspended who is 3 or 4 years old for transphobia?
I don't know why they were suspended.
No, we do. It's for being.
What I think is important.
It's for being transphobic.
Are taught empathy and kindness. That's the key thing here. That's what we should be focusing on.
Specifically, the only reason we are talking about it is because it's specifically for being transphobic. Do you believe that a 3 or 4-year-old can be transphobic?
I have not met a transphobic 3 or 4-year-old personally.
Exactly.
I mean, my nieces knew I was gay from the moment they were born, and they've always been incredibly, as you would call it, woke about it. And I love them dearly. But I think that everyone should be taught that all sorts of different people exist. I don't think that's a bad thing.
We would agree with you. 100% fine. But at 3 to 4 years old, I can tell you now, my children did not even know what the bits were about. They didn't really even understand any of that.
Right,
so for them to even, they didn't really understand, they understood boy and girl, and that they were a boy, one was a boy, one was a girl, but they didn't really understand anything really beyond that. So do you think
do you think
a child... Well, exactly. So do you think a 3 or 4-year-old has the capacity to be transphobic?
Well, we don't know what they said, do we? But if they said something really offensive and hurtful to everyone in the room, I suspect they did the right decision. I mean, do we trust
they didn't know what they were talking about.
Do you trust teachers in that environment to do the correct job?
No,
we know
not
that
always.
they do.
James, sorry, I don't always, I'm afraid.
Well,
I'm afraid I don't.
Really upsetting.
I mean, this child was clearly, James, this child was parroting something it had heard. It didn't mean it.
That's what children do. They don't understand it. They don't understand what
they are
saying.
echo chambers.
Yeah, so, you know, anyway, listen, it's a shame because we could talk to you guys for ages, but we've got to go.
Come on again, James, because we
please.
enjoy your views, and always lovely to talk to you, Emma. That's Emma Trimble and the DGN podcaster, James Barr.
Have a lovely day.
Sorry we lost him for part of that programme. Up next.
Police officers must tell suspects that they aren't playing a prank today when carrying out arrests because it's, of course, April Fool's Day.
You're with Britain's Newsroom, GB News.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is a nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get their book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Alex, tell us, because we're all very worried about how Prince Harry is going to make any money, but he's got another Netflix deal.
Yes. I mean, they haven't been box office, have they, for Netflix?
No.
But Prince Harry is apparently been offered a new contract for another documentary which will follow the story of Princess Diana's death.
Oh,
The
Lord.
documentary would mark the 30th anniversary of her passing. Because there was someone who was very, very popular with the British people and people around the world who seems to have dropped off the edge of a cliff now, and I think it's a great shame. I know he annoys people, and sometimes he annoys me, but I think if you went through what that poor boy went through in 1997...
Well, William did.
Yeah.
William did, and William hasn't turned out like that.
But everyone was particularly shocked by the vision of Harry walking at the age he was.
People are different, Stephen, aren't they? What may how trauma may affect you might affect me in a different way.
Yeah, I know, but if he has got... Well, I'm sure he has. I'm sure you're right. I'm sure he is traumatised by it all. However, sitting down with a psychiatrist or anything else in front of a TV camera is not the way to handle it.
It's the TV camera side of it, yeah.
No, but it might help soothing. I think maybe what he wants to do is get his story, his side of it across. And if he did it in a positive way rather than criticising members of his family, he might at least win some love back.
But it's damaging even by the very nature that he can do that and Prince William can't.
Well, that's what I was going to say. How is Prince William going to feel about this? His brother, and they clearly don't get on and they've fallen out over a lot of things, his brother is going to sort of justify his Netflix
but it can't be any worse than what he said
exploiting the memory of his mother.
But it can't be any worse than what he said in the book Spare, can it?
Well, I hope not.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Good morning, 27 minutes after 11 o'clock. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the United Kingdom with Andrew Pearce and me, Nana Acquia.
Panel's back.
Nigel Nelson, Piers Pottinger, they're joining us now.
What do you think about,
what do you want to start with? What should we start with?
What about the Falklands? Can you believe
yes,
this?
Hilarious. Equality guru for the Falklands.
But it's a lawyer, again, notice, it's a lawyer to oversee equality being paid £104,000. Now, there are 1 million penguins in the Falklands, but 3,662 people. So is it the penguins they're worried about or the people? because I would actually distribute the money, £104,000, to each of the people in the Falklands. It would do them much more good. I can't believe there's a really big equality problem in the
Can I just
Falklands.
point out, this is not just about equality or diversity or
What is it
else.
about
Well,
then?
it's
An equality guru.
He's the head of legal services for the Falklands. Given it's a sort of far-flung British colony, that's quite an important job. So he's not just there to talk about equality.
Well, no, they've got a governor in the Falklands. They've had one for years.
Yeah, but you're talking
he's in
about...
charge of he's in charge of the colony.
That's right, and this guy would advise the governor, and that would be
full time
for equality. Head of legal services. If you're talking about a far-flung British colony, I appreciate 3,000 people is not a huge.
Nigel, the governor can pick up if he's got a legal problem. The governor can pick up the phone and ask the Foreign Office for advice.
We've got a Foreign Office, and of course, with everything that's going on in the world, around the world, our Foreign Secretary most recently has been in Portugal, whereas you can imagine everything is the epicentre of what's happening in Europe and
nice warm weather at the moment.
But I mean, let's send David Lammy to the Falklands.
Oh, that'd be good. That's a good idea.
And,
That's a good idea,
I think he would do more good there than he does at the moment.
But I mean, a serious point. If the governor of the Falkland Islands used to be Rex Hunt, of course, and Mrs. Thatcher recaptured it. But when the Argentines...
He drove around in a London taxi.
He did. He was a great character. But if the governor had an issue, he could just pick up the phone and speak to a very high-powered lawyer at the Foreign Office.
Yeah.
You do not need a full-time £104,000 living out there, because then there's the living costs and all the rest of it.
And he'll have a secretary and probably a team of people to make sure these 3,662 people are all equal.
I think you're belittling the Falklands a little bit.
No, I'm a great fan of the Falklands.
I mean, it's not like just being a sort of a district council, and this is a place that...
No, it's smaller than a district council.
That's 8,000 miles away.
It's smaller than most villages.
But it's still 8,000 miles away, and it governs itself.
Do you know there's at least 500,000 sheep on the Falklands as well?
Yeah.
Well,
so you could maybe govern those as well.
I just can't see the point. I mean, this is jobs. I mean, we're supposed to be cutting back on the public sector.
No, I get that.
The Chancellor said we're going to lose 10,000 civil servants out of a bloated civil service of 550,000. And here we've got a six-figure sum for somebody to go on the Falkland Islands, which they don't need.
They've
never
need
had
that.
the job before.
But, I mean, they've now got an absurd situation in the civil service where there's been an analysis done on the number of desks they've got versus the number of employees. And they haven't got enough desks for their employees to work full-time, even if, as the government claims, 60% of the time the civil servants are in the office. That apparently is impossible, given the number of office spaces at the moment. I mean, it's another example of the shambles this country has become.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting that there aren't places you can cut in the civil service.
Where would you cut? Where would you cut?
Pardon?
Civil service. Where would you cut?
I don't know. I wouldn't even start speculating on where I would put a cut down, because I just don't know.
What about they should cut the Home Office and bring in performance-related pay? So the more people that you process and deal with, and percentage-wise, then perhaps they could put some quotas and targets on there.
But I mean, the Home Office is one of the most difficult departments to run because it has so much going through it. What I think the Home Office should do is separate immigration away from the other functions. So you have a Cabinet Office Minister, Cabinet rank for immigration. It's such a big issue now, it needs its own department.
I agree.
Well, I think the first thing they should do is, don't forget, this government created, in the last few months, 27 new quangos.
Certainly did.
Let's get rid of them, starting with the Sentencing Council.
Yeah.
It probably will go anyway.
Which should go.
and also the Office for Value for Money, which we know will be anything but.
Absolutely.
Listen,
we've got to transfer to our Leader of the Opposition, because I know you're all hanging on the edge of your feet. She's speaking alongside her Shadow Chancellor, Mel Stride, to do a press conference about Labour's handling of the economy. So let's have a listen.
Another on the people who keep this country going. Before the election, Labour promised they wouldn't raise taxes on working people. They looked the British public in the eye and said, trust us. But now they've broken that promise in the worst way. This is a fundamental breach of trust. They hiked taxes on farmers. They introduced a jobs tax that is killing businesses. They even snatched away pensioners' winter fuel payments, despite their promise to protect them. And who is paying the price? You are. Even the Independent Office for Budget Responsibility is clear. Labour's jobs tax will hit workers, not just businesses. And the real cost? By the end of this Parliament, families across Britain will be £3,500 worse off. That is not a small cut. That's food on the table. That's energy bills. That's rent or a mortgage payment. Labour ministers think this is pocket money. Just this morning, the Prime Minister was boasting that he had given people a pay rise. He does not get it. Why are we in this mess? Because Labour simply do not understand how the economy works. They think government creates growth. It doesn't. Business does. Businesses create wealth, which means more money in the pockets of workers and more money for public services. Without business, there is no growth and there are no jobs. And yet, instead of helping businesses, Labour is hammering them with a £25 billion tax rate. The result of the jobs tax? Lower wages, fewer jobs, and more businesses going under. The evidence is clear. The OBR shows that the vast majority of the jobs tax will be passed on to workers in lower wages, and this will lose an average family over £3,500. It'll mean more businesses collapsing. Tesco, Sainsbury's, Sky, Stellantis, they're cutting staff. And a Bank of England survey found that 54% of businesses now expect lower employment. Lower employment means that the problem is going to get worse as fewer people earn a living. The response from Labour ministers just this morning is that people shouldn't be so pessimistic. They might as well say, suck it up. The jobs tax is hitting so many. It's hitting part-time work. Businesses now face extra costs for hiring part-time staff. And it means cuts to vital services, schools, councils, and healthcare. The jobs tax hits pharmacies, GP surgeries, children's hospices. Labour refused to exempt them despite our calls. This is what happens when you punish business. You don't just hurt CEOs and boardrooms, you hurt ordinary working people. The most frustrating thing is that this was not inevitable. It did not have to happen. We warned them, businesses warned them, and yet Labour refused to listen. Now it's working families who will suffer. This jobs tax is a tax on your pay packet, a tax on those who work hard, do the right thing, and want a better future for their children. I know what it is like to struggle to get by, to make ends meet, to have to make difficult decisions because I was worried about money, to have to choose between eating or taking the bus. I cannot imagine losing £3,500 at a time when people are trying to save for deposits, pay mortgages, deal with soaring bills. Under Labour, from today, household bills will shoot up by over £1,000 this year alone. And don't just take my word for it. Business leaders are speaking out. Over 200 major restaurants, pubs and hotels have warned Labour that their budget will cost jobs. Over 80 retail leaders have warned that it will slow pay growth, cause shop closures. Even some of Labour's own business backers now feel betrayed, because their approach isn't just economic mismanagement, it's economic vandalism. The Conservative Party is under new leadership. We did not always get everything right, but fundamentally, we as a party believe in lower taxes and better public services. We believe in the people who built businesses from nothing to give back to their communities. We believe in the people who took risks, tried something new, and built a legacy for the next generation. Labour don't understand what it means to take a risk, to meet a payroll, to grow an enterprise. Most of Labour's cabinet have barely worked for a business, let alone built one. They have no idea about the hard graft it takes to run small business. To them, national insurance is just another line item on a budget page. They are so busy spending other people's money that they don't think about the impact of their decisions on those who are working hard, taking risks, and trying to get on with their lives. The result? Lower growth, lower wages, lost jobs. Labour did not listen to business. Will they listen to the families now paying the price? Because if they don't fix this, we will. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kemi.
We've got the panel with
Labour
us still.
said at the
So that's the Leader of the Opposition. That was rather half-hearted applause. I'm not sure who the audience is.
No.
What do you make of that speech, Piers?
Well, it was stating the obvious, very easy stuff with no substance or anything, any spark at all. I'm sorry, it was paint drying. And I cannot imagine, I don't understand the point of it. They keep doing these events when they've got nothing to say of any substance, anything captivating, any really major new point. Everything she's said before, and is obvious to most people that this jobs tax is a jobs tax.
And are they going to reverse it? Would the Tories reverse it?
Well, they should. They haven't decided their policies yet, and they keep telling us they haven't decided their policies yet. Which again, I mean, the local elections are going to be a real wake-up call for Kemi if she survives them. I am not sure she will survive much longer as a leader, because she's really having very little impact. And yes, I don't mind her taking a bit of time to shape policy, but she's at the same time supposed to hold the opposition to account, the government to account as her duty as leader of the opposition. And she's not doing that. She's failing miserably to have any impact on the electorate. And as such, she's failing as a leader.
What do you make? Well, I mean, what do your Labour mates say? Are they relieved it's her?
Well, more or less, yeah, because I mean, she's not laying any gloves on Labour at the moment.
And they're quite exposed, frankly.
Yeah, and Labour are more worried about reform. So, and we'll obviously have to see as things develop how reform of the Lib Dems squeeze then the Tories. What I found about that speech is that she talks about the usual Tory mantra: let's have lower taxes. Okay, fine. How do you go about doing that? At the moment that she's against the national insurance rise on business. The question then is that is the only big tax that was left to Rachel Reeves to raise. It brings in 20 to 25 billion pounds. What Kemi Badenoch needs to do is say, well, where does that money come from? You actually need that money. So before you start talking about lowering taxes, tell us how you would replace that.
Well, she could scrap the ridiculous plan for GB Energy, which is going to cost $8 billion.
Well, you could, but I mean, that's the one thing left that actually growth is predicated on, that the idea that we will actually lead the world in green technology, and the only way of doing that is to invest in something like GB Energy.
And carbon capture.
22 billion.
Do you know carbon capture has failed everywhere it's been tried? In Milwaukee, they lost 14 billion and they stopped doing it. And the only real beneficiaries of carbon capture are the oil and gas companies who back it because the little pellets of carbon are then fired into oil wells to make more oil and gas. So that they use it to explode oil wells to get more oil and gas. So it is a voodoo site.
It's a voodoo site.
I mean, at the moment, carbon capture is not developed enough.
We're allocating 22 billion pounds.
I know, but if you don't develop these things...
But it's failed everywhere.
Well, it has so far, but then
why back a failed technology?
Because we're on the cusp of, one hopes, a green revolution. The direction,
or the abyss.
The direction... well, it's very good, Nana. The direction of world travel now is towards green technology. We need to get on the ground floor of that to be able to make some money out of it. Otherwise, we'll have to buy the technology in from elsewhere.
Well, we need to get off the floor because
China's not moving towards green technology.
No.
Quite the reverse. I mean, Ed Miliband is basically bonkers. We all know that. And this mad ideological net zero. I mean, I think he's got net zero brain cells because this is nobody can figure out how any of Miliband's plans are A, going to work, B, actually have any real effect on anything. We equate to 1% of global emissions, and we're about 1% of the world economy. It's quite normal. We don't need to.
The fourth largest world polluter if you take it over the last 100 years.
No, but let's be realistic. You say 1%, but let's be honest. The reason why is because we've kind of offset it to China, so we don't produce anything really. So we buy everything from China, who then are opening new coal fields all the time. So it's not really 1%. It's just 1% emitted from the UK, but we are massive contributors to the carbon emissions.
And Miliband's plans don't work. I mean, the grid is already in trouble, as witness what happened at Heathrow, and he hasn't actually. And if you speak to people from the national grid, they will tell you that Miliband's plans are pie in the sky.
Well, I mean, we'll have to see, won't we? I mean, the one thing that we've got at the moment is that planning laws are going to be reformed to make it easier to build things like
destroy the countryside.
Well, hang on. Right. I mean, again, if you're going for green technology, then you've got to have the wherewithal to go and do it. So at the moment,
it's marvellous, isn't it? You want green technology, yet you're destroying the countryside, which I thought used to be quite green.
I've got a wind farm being built on my doorstep.
Lucky you. You'll get £20 off your electric bill.
No, I won't.
I'm sure it'll be very...
You don't get anything off at all.
Wait till you won't be able to sleep with the noises, and they're very, very noisy.
And they're ugly, and they kill birds.
There'll be a hum in your ear forever.
Well,
and they kill birds. Are they going to paint them?
There is a local campaign group objecting against it. I won't be one of those people.
Is Mrs. Nelson going to be one of the objectors?
Yes.
I thought she might do it on your behalf.
That's why we love Mrs. Nelson. We love your wife. She is
campaigning against it.
Yes. She might be a family at war.
Well, there is a good influence on Nigel somewhere.
She's a very fine woman. Do send her our love. Now, gentlemen, thank you. And up next, private schools are fighting back with vigour against the VAT on their fees. They launched a legal challenge today at the High Court.
Good.
But before that, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast of some of the top European holiday destinations.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hi there. If you're heading further afield over the next few days, it is going to be unsettled across much of the Mediterranean, particularly for Greece, where very lively showers and thunderstorms will continue during Wednesday. Showery for southern Italy, but northern Italy largely fine with some sunshine. South of France into Spain and Portugal. We've got spells of rain moving in along with a gusty wind, and that unsettled weather sticks around for the end of the week, whilst the showers become fewer and less frequent in Greece.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No, because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, well, Christians across the Lent, we're bringing you the daily reflections from ministers around the United Kingdom. Here's today's message from Mark Wilson. He's a vicar in the Church of England.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
I'm Mark Wilson, a vicar in the Church of England. What do you do? That's the question that defines us. The question that's meant to make me understand who you are and what your ambitions are. I might as well be asking, what makes you tick? However, is it really? You see, when Jesus was crossing the Sea of Galilee in a boat, crowds chased after him because they wanted what they heard about him. There was something about him that meant that they were filled because of him. Because let's face it, the stuff we do, that doesn't fill us. There has to be something more, right? And Jesus shows us that as he teaches and then shows us who he is. As they chase Jesus, they don't even pack any food. And we know the story. The boy comes with 5 loaves and 2 fish, and everyone eats. And they gather more food in than they had in the first place. This is Jesus saying, look, I want you to be full. Do you want to be whole? I'm the one who feeds, the one who gives you everything that you need, because I am the God who feeds you in the wilderness. I am the one who can make you whole.
Oh, that's lovely.
That was nice.
Passionate man.
Yeah, and it's good to be passionate about your Christian faith. It's Easter. We're building up to Easter, the most important festival.
Did you give up anything for?
I gave up booze.
Really?
But you can cheat.
Oh, is it? So you didn't really give it up
No,
at all?
you can have a drink on a Sunday. So what I do, I move a Sunday to a different night if it suits.
But that's good. You actually gave up something.
It's an effort.
I didn't give up anything.
Oh.
No.
And I go to Stations of the Cross if I can, and nice. I always make sure I get more fastidious about going to Mass.
Is it? See, now I think I wouldn't mind going back to church again, to be honest. I'd like to go to one of those ones where they do a lot of singing and...
Praise the Lord.
Yeah, I think...
Hosanna in the highest.
If it's fun, I like it when it's fun. If it's a bit boring, then, you know.
Yeah, my church is never boring.
No. But this is a big story because the legal challenges to the VAT on private schools' fees will be heard at the High Court today.
20 families and several faith schools are bringing a legal action against the Treasury, claiming the new VAT on fees is discriminatory and a breach of human rights law. I just might point out, by the way, the lawyers hired by the government to try and see this off were all educated at a private school, all of them, and they're very expensive lawyers. Joining us now is GB News reporter Adam Cherry. Adam.
Yeah, good morning, guys.
It's ongoing in the High Court at the moment. The teachers, the campaign groups, education against discrimination, education against taxation, they're in there right now. Now. Earlier today, I spoke to Charlie and Leanne. They're a parent and a pupil protesting this change. Charlie has a condition called transverse myelitis, which means he's relying on a wheelchair and he has hearing difficulties, so he goes to a small independent school which caters to his needs a little bit better. And so I chatted to them and had a discussion about why this case is important for them and for other pupils. So take a listen.
So we are here because the VAT on school fees, in particularly for children like Charlie, is really discriminative. There are a lot of children in independent schools that aren't like rich people, which has been advertised widely in the media. We are groups of people who, in Charlie's case, literally cannot access education anywhere else other than in an independent setting.
So since the introduction of that VAT on school fees in January, what's been the impact for you guys specifically?
So I'm currently working 7 days a week. I work early in the morning till late at night. We've had a 14% increase in our fees, so the school has swallowed part of the increase, but it's still had a massive effect on us. The long and the short of it is, this isn't sustainable working like this, and we need this legislation to be thrown out.
So you heard there, Leanne now working 7 days a week. This is the first of 3 days here at the High Court. We're going to be chatting to more campaigners throughout the day, so stay tuned. We'll have more on this throughout the afternoon.
All right, thank you very much, Adam Cherry. Be interesting to see the result of that, won't it?
Yeah, I fear the worst, but it's an important fight. Yeah, it's an important fight.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Been a joy, and we're back together tomorrow.
Back together tomorrow, yeah, for the whole week, actually, yeah?
Yeah, really good.
Well, that's it from us here on Britain's Newsroom.
Up next, it's Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily. We'll see you tomorrow. We're looking forward to it.
Well, sorry to say, it's a bit of a miserable day for most of us. Bills are only going up, but we'll try and find you some good advice as well on how to beat those rises.
Elsewhere, the Sentencing Council has delayed rather than abandoned its proposals that came under the criticism of the term two-tier justice. We're asking, should the Sentencing Council, rather than buckle to the whim of the government, simply now be abolished? We'll be speaking to a former Attorney General. All of that to come, of course, after your latest weather forecast.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another beautiful day out there, dry, sunny for virtually all of us, but with a cooling breeze, particularly towards the south and southwest, gusts of 30-35 miles an hour, particularly around exposed hills and coasts of southwest England and West Wales. Otherwise, it's virtually cloud-free skies from the north of Scotland to the south of England, and under the strong sunshine, temperatures will respond very well. We're looking at mid to high teens widely. The warmest spots will be northwest Wales, northwest England, northern Scotland. Could see 20 Celsius. Feeling much cooler along the south and the east coast because of the brisk breeze. And we're going to see more of the same overnight. Widespread clear skies, just some patchy cloud here and there. And temperatures initially slow to fall, staying warm through the evening. 16, 17 Celsius there at 5 p.m. for northern Scotland. Northern Ireland, very little in the way of cloud. And for England and Wales, around sunset, also clear spells, but we keep the brisk breeze, and that means that it's going to be frost-free around some of these more exposed coasts. But inland, where we get some shelter from the breeze, temperatures will fall away, and during the hours of darkness we can expect temperatures to dip into the mid or even low single figures. So yeah, there'll be a touch of frost here and there, a few patches of cloud as we start off Wednesday. But otherwise, it's a similar start to Tuesday with plenty of blue skies from the word go. And it's another remarkably sunny day out there with barely any clouds in the sky, just some patches over the Pennines perhaps, but even that will disappear into the afternoon. We keep a brisk breeze. It's perhaps less strong across southern parts compared with Tuesday, but it's still good to make it feel on the cool side, particularly along the North Sea coast, 11 to 13 Celsius here. It's in the west where we're going to see highs into the high teens.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. Blue skies pretty much all the way today. Temperatures, well, varying quite a bit across the country. Some chilliness on the coasts and across the south where the wind is quite brisk. The isobars close together here. But this area of high pressure is providing, as I say, quite a lot of sunshine. There's a bit of a breeze along some North Sea